It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show.
Welcome to the Dep Lewis Show, episode 191. This is your host, Dep Lewis, and today is Sunday, August 2nd, 2026, a great day for a podcast about video games and more. I hope you're doing great out there in the world, wherever and whenever you're listening to this. Thank you for being here. The first order of business is to ask you to follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show available anywhere you can find a podcast. So find the best place to subscribe and listen weekly. Places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Amazon Music, and more. YouTube is also a great place to watch replays and games live or check out the videos later. If you would like to support the show even further than just listening, patreon.com/Dep Lewis Show is available if you'd like to subscribe monthly. It's currently at 1 out of 100 for the ground floor tier, which is $1 a month and will never change in price and will always include the same content as any of the higher tiers. Also, Venmo at Dep Lewis Show is available any day, anytime for any amount if you would like to support the show. And today's show will have 3 sections as always. The first section, I will tell you about what video games I've been playing since I've last talked to you on this microphone. The mid section, which is not mid in quality, it's the middle of the show. That's where I tell you about everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. And the third and final section, the miscellaneous talk section, is a break from all the video game talk, where I can talk about anything I want to outside of the video game world. And as usual, I like to get into the worldwide world of sports and tell you what's going on with all my favorite teams. One of them is playing today and a couple hours away, and some other things to catch you up on. I actually went to a related sporting event that I want to tell you about in the final section, so definitely some extra stuff for the sports talk today. But, the first thing, the main thing that we're here for is all the video game talk, so let's get into it. All right, so what have I been playing since I've talked to you last week? I've been playing a lot of the same games that I've been playing for the last few weeks, so not going to be too many surprises here. The first thing and the main thing I've been playing in the past week is my favorite game of the year, Forza Horizon 6. I've been singing this game's praises since it released earlier in the year, and I'm just having so much fun with this. I just passed the 80-hour mark, so if that's any indicator of how much I'm liking this game, that is a pretty good one right there. For someone who doesn't necessarily always put that much time into a video game, but this one has gotten me hooked. I like everything about it, and it is something that I'm continuing to play. So in the past week, I got the last stamp that's available, so now I'm a Master Explorer is what they call me, so, walking around a little more proud out there. And my new car that I bought in the game was that Porsche Spyder a couple weeks ago, and I think this one has turned into my new favorite in the entire game. My favorite before was the 911 Turbo S and that BMW competition SUV, but this new Porsche Spyder has a launch stat of 10. It has a really cool open back window where you can see the engine. It drives really cool. It looks really cool. It's a really nice yellow color. I picked the proper yellow that I wanted for that car, and it's been helping me enjoy the late game. And it's a car that I spent 2.3 million credits on in this game, so it's nice that, my affinity for it is matching the dollar price of the credit price of the car in the game. And the main things that I have to still complete are the drift zones, the speed traps, the delivery jobs, the Japan tour, and the bonus boards. A lot of the bonus boards I have left are some of the trickier ones where you have to leap off a nearby cliff or structure to get on top of a building and hit the board. So some of those are going to be pretty hard to do and take a lot of time. And I think all of these other ones too are going to take some time. Like I've been saying on this show, I'm really bad at the drifting in the game, so that's something that's a work in progress. I did complete one of the Horizon event races that I had gotten second place in. I completed that pretty easily yesterday, so that felt pretty good. So I do think my general racing in this game is improving, but I don't know if my drifting skills have improved, or I guess that it really is the main one. Some of these speed traps, you have to get up to a really high speed. Some of the 3-star things are kind of difficult in this game, so that's something that I'm going to have to keep chipping away at. But this really is a clear number one game of the year for me, and it's been just an amazing game to be playing throughout the year. It's been the main one I've been thinking of. It's a perfect game to play with a podcast. It's a perfect game to play with your full attention, and it continues to be really great, and I continue to keep doing stuff in the game, so I'm sure I'll be talking about Forza Horizon 6 more and more as the year goes on. But that is pretty much the main update I have there, so I'm just kind of chipping away at the things I have left. I need to start buying some of the cars on the map. I need to start buying some of the houses on the map. That's going to be quickly seeing my credits deplete. I think I have over 3 million in credits, and I know some of the houses you can buy probably are 3 million or even more. So I don't know how I'm going to get up to this crazy level of cash, but I'm going to keep on trying. All right. And what else have I been playing in the past week? This is a game, I've been playing a lot of Pokemon this year. I completed Leaf Green, I completed Sword. I've been in a little bit of an in-between state of, hey, which Pokemon game do I want to play next? And the two there have been Pokemon Violet. I don't really think I've made any progress there, maybe just a little bit over there of leveling up Florigato, but I have made some pretty good progress in Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. So I was playing this earlier in the year. I started a file with Piplup. I was maybe like 8 or 10 hours in. I completed the first gym, and just after, I guess, thinking about it some more and thinking about what I enjoyed from Leaf Green and Pokemon Sword, I think I picked the incorrect starter. So I've started a new file. Chimchar is my starter. It's supposed to be like a quick attack focused character, more so than being like a tank, and more so than being like a tricky character. So I think that suits my needs the best, especially early on, trying to have my strongest Pokemon. So it's been nice playing with Chimchar. He has a pretty cool Fire Tail. I like his Amber move. I like Scratch. And he's been pretty strong so far, except for fighting against my rival, whose name is Ronnie in this game after Ronald Acuna, and fighting his Piplup. That was a little bit difficult, but I was able to take him down either way. I do enjoy the top-down nature of this game. I think that's something that I really enjoyed from Leaf Green, which was just really one of the best surprises to me of the year of having that come to the Switch eShop and playing that through. And that's got to be up there for one of my favorite games of all time. And the top-down nature of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond is something that is aesthetically pleasing. It's just something that I really enjoy, and maybe it just seems a little more simple and a lower barrier of entry of trying to get in there possibly than Pokemon Violet. Pokemon Violet, I do feel a little bit overwhelmed in the 3 different story paths you can take. The open world is a lot more fleshed out and things to do. You can really just walk around in Pokemon Violet and find stuff to do and find people to talk to and different Pokemon and things like that. So this is a nice return to more of like a, I guess, traditional format for Pokemon. And so what else do I want to say? I'm probably going to be able to complete the first gym in the next week. I think I'm right up on that. I've been just trying to level up Chimchar a little bit and try to get up to having 6 Pokemon in my party. I think I only have 3 or 4 at this point, so I'm still pretty early on in the Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. But this has been a really great year for Pokemon for me. I've been having so much fun with them, and it's been really fun to continue and make some more progress. I think the next big Pokemon release will be next year in the fall, which is Pokemon Winds and Waves. And the 3 games that I've been kind of kicking around have been Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Pokemon Violet, and I do have Pokemon Legends Z through A from last year. That's something that, I need to probably restart a file there too. I don't think I picked the correct Pokemon for my particular style, so I need to reboot that at some point in the future, and that's kind of on my brain as well. All right, so what else have I been playing? Another game that is always on my brain. It's slowly going up the ranks of one of my favorite games of all time, and that's Persona 3 Reload. In the past week, I've been trying to climb Tartarus. I've been trying to treat Tartarus a little more as a place to level and gain experience for my characters, possibly realize I'm going to be in there for a while, maybe watch a podcast or listen to a podcast along with it, or watch baseball and play it handheld and really just kind of do some grinding. And that's what I've been doing in the past week on Persona 3 Reload. I made it up to floor 28. I think that's the farthest. Well, I don't know if that's the farthest I've ever been, but it's the farthest I've been in this particular file since I've started a few different Persona 3 Reload files over the years. I guess it's been a couple years, but I was trying to focus on hitting the level wall and doing some grinding, but I actually found like a place to exit Tartarus and ended up doing that. So might not be exactly what I was going there trying to do, because I think if you read online, it kind of recommends, hey, just push through Tartarus until you hit the wall, and then you can kind of go enjoy all the stuff in the open world. And I thought that sounded like a pretty good idea, but I think for now, like getting into it, I'm just trying to tackle like a big chunk of Tartarus. I think either way, it's going to make you go through Tartarus. Even when the next full moon arises, I think it's going to make you try to climb all the floors to save somebody in there, is how it works. And I don't know, I'm still trying to feel my way through this game, still trying to learn some of the mechanics. I did a lot of reading about the Persona fusing last week. I didn't really know how to tackle that. If you fuse your Personas, it changes them into a new one and gets rid of the old ones you have. So I'm a little bit worried about losing Orpheus and a few other ones that I currently like a whole lot. But it's seeming like you're going to have to interact with the fusion mechanic in order to beat some of these higher level enemies. So that's something that I've been trying to look into a little bit in the past week and try to figure out a plan of what I'm going to do. But I have been enjoying the combat more in this game. It's really equating more to Pokemon for me, of trying to hit the weaknesses, having a different party. I'm having, 3 or 4 characters on the battlefield at once, and they can kind of compensate for the other's weaknesses or strengths kind of thing. So that's been really nice. And I really do love the characters of Persona 3 Reload. That's one of my favorite things about the game, and I think that's why I'm feeling so good about it, and just really, really like this game. If you've listened to the show in any form or facet, you know that I've started a few files on here on different platforms. I made it to different varying 20-hour points in this game, but there's totally something I really like about this game, and I would love to be able to finish it at some point, and that's probably my biggest gamer challenge at this point, would be to finish Persona 3 Reload. That would feel really good. I completed a Pokemon game this year, which I never had done. I completed a Zelda game last year, which I had never done. And completing a Persona game, I think, is probably the next natural evolution of like a Dep Lewis Show challenge. We have Persona 4 Revival, I believe that's what it's called, the remake of Persona 4 coming out in February of next year. So I would love to be able to play some of that and possibly play it after completing Persona 3 Reload. So, maybe more to come on that, and maybe in just a minute, because I'm actually thinking of something. And the last game that I was putting some time in this week, really just kind of minimal, but I am playing some more of this, and that's Hades 2. So I'm trying to get stronger, better at the combat. I think that's kind of the basic thing I need to do for trying to progress. I need to level up my character, obviously, which comes from just playing, but I'm trying to get better at the combat in general to try to last longer on these in these big battles. I'm currently getting beat down by the headmistress. I don't know how you say her last name, Hecate, Hecate, but she is like the main, I guess she's kind of like your main mentor early on in this game, and she is a very difficult boss. I guess it's like kind of I don't know, I want to say very difficult, but it's like the first kind of main challenge I think you have to face in this game from what I can remember. And she's basically telling you while she's kicking your ass, she's like, hey, I'm just trying to get you ready for the rest of the game, and you need to be able to, I guess it's like almost like a soft level cap. They want to make sure that you're leveling up your character enough to get by there. And, soon enough, I'm going to be taking down Headmistress Hecate. And I'm probably saying that so wrong, which feels really bad. But I have beaten her. I have beaten her in a previous file. So this is another instance of, restarting a file in a game that I've started to try to, gain some momentum early on or feel like I'm not missing anything. So back playing Hades 2 a little bit, playing that in handheld, and I've been having a whole lot of fun with it. So those are all the games I've been playing this week. It's mainly been a Forza Horizon 6 week, as it has been for a while, but I've also played some Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, some Persona 3 Reload, and Hades 2. And this is kind of getting back to the Persona 3 Reload thing. The overall theme of the Dep Lewis Show for this year has been the year of the front log. So I've been looking, to the future. I haven't been worried about my backlog or adding games to the backlog or going back to the beginning of a franchise. But I've been thinking about this. The only 2 games I currently have on my front log of things I've been saying, hey, I want to play day one, are Marvel's Wolverine on September 15th and Grand Theft Auto 6 on November 19th. And I'm feeling a little bit, wishy-washy on these. Insomniac's one of my favorite developers. I've played through those 3 Spider-Man games they released. I love Ratchet and Clank. I'm pretty excited for this Wolverine game, but, in all likelihood, I might not get it right away. So I've been thinking about this, and possibly the same with Grand Theft Auto. I don't know. I'm sure I'll be trying to get that game. That game's probably going to come in hot. But, Grand Theft Auto 6 is just kind of a monolith. It doesn't really feel too specific to me. It's just something that's going to be a big point for all the video games. So I'm feeling a little bit unsure about my front log at this point. So it being the year of the front log, that's kind of a weird place to be in. So, I've been thinking in the last week of maybe I'm going to make a change to the theme of the year to end out the year. I know we're pretty close to the end of the year, so maybe, just having the vibe of looking forward to the front log is something to keep, but it is just something I've been thinking about. And even just talking about Persona 3 Reload, maybe I should challenge myself to try to finish that game by the end of the year. That would be pretty fun and probably a pretty difficult challenge for me, just with the way that I play video games so sporadically. And then especially if I'm putting a challenge on myself, I might just immediately be like, nope, I'm going to play every other game besides Persona 3, but you never know. It might be, I talked about completing a Zelda game on here for a long time and eventually did. So maybe there is some merit to doing it and keeping up with it and talking a little bit of trash on myself. But I just want to say, I think the year of the front log, the theme for the show, is maybe maybe going to be changing. Maybe I'm just going to keep it. Maybe I'm going to take those games off my front log. I don't know. So just please, stay tuned as always, and I will always keep you up to date. But that is everything I got for my personal video gaming in the past week. And that's everything I got for you for the first section of the show. So we're going to take a quick break. You're going to hear some lovely break music, and then we're going to come back where I tell you about everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. Welcome back to the midsection of Dep Lewis Show, episode 191. This is where I tell you about everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. And we're going to start off with some developer news, and the first one to talk about is Double Fine Productions, who recently went independent from their Xbox Microsoft ownership, and they have announced some layoffs. So, thoughts and prayers to all those people affected by the layoffs over there at Double Fine. This seems like a move to stabilize themselves and be a little bit leaner. And maybe they were kind of put in a bad position by Xbox here is kind of my thought, kind of my little bit of a plea over there for Double Fine. But the quote they have released is today, Double Fine Productions let go of 23 members of our staff. As a small, tightly knit team, these actions are not taken lightly. Only the survival of our studio would ever make us consider such a painful action. Our transition to becoming an independent company also means becoming a size that we can sustain. The people we are losing were all important. They all made an impact on our games and culture, and they will be missed. We are committed to supporting each affected person as best as we can, and we thank them for their hard work and commitment to the creative spirit we cherish here at Double Fine. So that was a quote from Tim Schafer, the founder of Double Fine, which was founded in 2000, and they have games like Psychonauts and Brutal Legend in their classic catalog. So just tough to see, even to see such a revered, respected developer like Double Fine is going through some troubles here, and I don't know if they can say that their Xbox partnership was a good one at this point. I don't know if they come out the other side in a better position. They're still, have a lot of talent over there, a lot of pedigree, a lot of good history. But, for the future, I think a lot of developers are in a little bit of trouble here. And this is, I guess, their breakaway point. They broke away, and then they're trying to make decisions to make their independence last longer. So I feel a little bit more for the studio heads here. I think this is another example of, being precious with your company and your IP and the things that you're going to sell to other companies. And this is their, I don't know if it's like a second chance, but it is another chance at, gaining their independence, seeing if they can find a way through and seeing how long they can be sustainable. So I don't think this is definitely not a good thing going on over there, but I can kind of see how it is happening. And I just, thoughts and prayers to all those affected over there with the layoffs at Double Fine. That's really the main thing I want to say. And, I'll keep you updated. I think a lot of these companies and developers are going to be going through some of these trying times, as I like to call, and that is just the reality of the video game world at this point. All right, so moving on from Double Fine, that was the news there. A little bit of an update on Bethesda. All the news really there is with Bethesda is they're about to hit their 40th anniversary. So they were established in 1986. So that's not quite 40 years. It's almost there. But they say, well, never mind. That is 40 years. I'm sorry. But 40 years of adventures. Here's to the worlds we built together and those still to come. We're marking the occasion with the logo inspired by our roots. So a little bit of a logo update for Bethesda. Nothing else announced. But I just wanted to make sure you're aware of that and, celebrate the 40 years of Bethesda. All right, getting into some PlayStation news. A little update on the physical disc production. So they announced a couple weeks ago to major backlash that they are going to end physical disc production for PlayStation video games starting January 2028. They have been pretty radio silent. They kind of just tried to, market some of the regular products and have really been mum is the word on talking about this. But we've actually gotten some quotes in the past week of what, Sony brass or Sony executives are thinking about this change. So for the PlayStation physical disc, in the past week, they said, hey, we announced that from January 2028 onwards, that we will no longer be manufacturing game discs, so 1.5 years ahead. There are various reasons we made this decision, the biggest being that digitalization of content overall has been progressing. That's the big factor. It's not just for PlayStation, but for all kinds of content. Digitalization is progressing. It's progressing. And so when we think about the future, we put in a lot of thought and time. We are cautiously considering this, and we came to this conclusion, and we're going to cautiously move this forward. So that statement even seems a little bit too cautious to me. It's really, really like handling us out here in the public with white gloves and like we're in, I don't know, just like taking us so gingerly and safely. And it's really because, the backlash is insane out there. People are upset about this. I think that's a very valid reason, and it's just kind of a hard time and a strange time to be making this big of a decision. And, I think they're playing a little bit dumb over there with downplaying the backlash. The Sony CFO, we have a quote from them in the past week. It says, "At this point in time, we are not seeing any impact on our business." So this is the brave face they're putting out on in the public, but it just seems very disingenuous because it's not true. Anytime you see a post from PlayStation at this point, every single comment is talking about bring back the physical discs. I think we see this with content creators online. There can be a point of, well, I don't know if it's like diminishing returns, but people can get really fed up with these things, and they can really take over your comments and take over your entire business and channel if it's basically meaning that they're just not liking what you're doing, and that's very valid. So they say we haven't really seen any negative impact on our business, which I feel like is a disingenuous comment. However, as I already said, the players have attachments, and we have to think about how to respond to those feedbacks. So even there, that statement's a little bit inconsistent there, saying, hey, we haven't seen any negative impact, but the players have attachments. So I just hate some of this corporate maneuvering. I think they should be a little bit more straightforward. Their favorite thing to preach is transparency, and I think most of these companies are anything but transparent, so it's just all lip service at this point. And even in these few little corporate quotes, I think these are from two different entities that work for Sony. You're getting a little bit of a different vibe, and I think maybe they really should just be quiet. I think if you're going to announce something that people are going to like, you should just stick with your announcement and then not come out here and try to make the public feel better, patting them on the head with some of these comments. It feels a little bit like, talking down or just, I don't know, just seems a little bit shysty. You're the one making the decision. You can't control how people are going to feel about it and try to make them immediately feel better. It's like, it's one of those things, you make your bed and you have to lay in it. And I think they're scrambling. They said they would expect some of this. They've had these quotes that they're bringing out here. They're saying, hey, we're not worried. Everyone's playing digital. But I think a large vocal portion of their audience is not going to drop this, and I think it's something that they need to address. And I think it's a bad position they put themselves in, because now if they go back on it, people are going to realize that they can be swayed, which is not really good. I think a lot of these companies want to be the ones making the decision and driving their business and not be completely affected by outside people. But if you're selling a product to outside people, you have to really consider them. And that is the thing that I think people are most pissed off about in this change. Is why is it such a drastic decision? Why now? Why does it have to be every single thing? How much of a cost can this really be affecting your bottom line? And it's just another one that they're, taking away some goodwill from the gamers, and the gamers out there in the world are not going to appreciate it, Sony. So if you're going to make those decisions, expect that kind of feedback. And you can't really, you could walk it back and change it. I think people would be happy, but I don't know. I think even in that, you want to come back and say, hey, physical discs aren't going to be as abundant as they have been in the past. Maybe they're going to be a bit more niche, but we want to make sure that we have the option out there, blah, 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 blah. Maybe it's going to cost a little bit more. I think that would generally make people pretty happy. I think people, including myself, just don't like when you take away options, and that's something that they're taking away a giant option here over there with the PlayStation physical disc. So I don't think this is the last time we've heard from this or heard about this, but they're still trying to act brave out there in the public, and I guess that's what they have to do, even if I don't think it's the best strategy that you could be going forward with right now. So that's an update on the PlayStation physical disc side of things. There's some rumors out there. We're going to get kind of into some Xbox topics right now, but there are some rumors out there. I think it was John Linneman of Digital Foundry was having some quotes out there, and he is saying that Xbox has discussed the possibility of an external disk drive solution for the next gen. So allegedly and reportedly, Xbox is considering physical disc support for their next gen console. And I think this would be really huge, especially in this market that seems kind of muddy for these video game consoles. And, everything, you can play video games these days, and there's free to play games, and you can play a lot of things on mobile. There's a lot of things getting into streaming. There's just a lot of options going on. And I think if you want to get a really big win and a legitimate win, you can value these things. You're not just stripping, you're not just cutting costs, cutting expenses, looking at the bottom line. You are actually maybe taking a little bit of a loss, taking a little bit of a step back, but in service of helping the people that support you out there in the world, which is the consumers and the fans. And that's something that I think these companies oftentimes are overlooking. I think most of the time they're overlooking this, but the rubber can hit the road. All these great things cannot last, won't necessarily last for forever. And, there are consequences for your actions out here in the world, and they're seeing some of them. So I think with Xbox having so much, they're in a really weird place though, but I think this, whoever's over there at Xbox, you should be considering this at least. This would be a really, really huge win. You can get people coming back to your platform. You're obviously going to be charging people for these external disk drives, but I think this is something that people value and would spend their money on if they were able to have the option. So I think that's something it's nice to hear out there. I just don't know how realistic it is. Maybe it's lip service, but we will see. So a little bit of the rumor mill out there for the Xbox physical discs in the future. All right, a couple more Xbox topics. We got some quotes from the new Xbox CEO, Asha Sharma, in the past week, and the first one is in regards to Xbox streaming, so I'm going to read that to you. So this is from Asha Sharma. This summer, we expanded Xbox streaming to more than 150 million TVs and devices around the world because not everyone can afford dedicated gaming hardware, which, they're the ones raising the prices on those. Today, we're adding millions more through VIDAA-OS and Hisense, so more people can play on the hardware they already own. I've never been someone to really be interested in streaming. I think it's an okay option. I don't know if the technology has caught up to it yet. Maybe it's a little bit better. I do have a Hisense TV. Now, within the last 6 months, I had to buy a new TV, and that's what I chose to purchase. So maybe I will try to play around with this and see just what the functionality of it looks like and what's going on over there in terms of the Xbox streaming. But, my take on it is I think the streaming is a good option. I think it's a lesser option than playing a game natively. But I do think, in the world that we're going to where everybody can't afford or don't want to afford the expensive gaming hardware, having less expensive options to play some games, maybe at a little bit of a less quality, I think is fine. And I think it's a nice option. I just don't think it's probably the smartest thing to change your entire business to. And I think that's what some of these companies are trying to do. And I think that's what they are fumbling at a little bit. All right. So getting into some more Asha Sharma quotes. This one's in regards to Xbox growth. So she says, in fiscal year 2026, over 200 million new players came to Xbox in our games, but our business did not grow with our audience. So that's just a little bit of a confusing statement there to me. We need to close that gap by investing in what players value, and that's what they always say, and that's what they should be doing already. I don't know why they're having to say that. This will take time, but we expect to return to growth by the end of fiscal year 2027. So that is a way a ways. She's definitely just talking to investors here saying, hey, the sink is shipping, but we're trying to do everything we can. I think this is definitely just some lip service out here of the talking about you returning to growth. It's like Xbox really needs to quit talking more so and really just put some actions into place. I think their corporate strategy has been all over the place. I think some of this messaging has been all over the place, and I still think we're really, really unclear of what they're going to do in the future. And then any of these quotes about talking about the gamers and what players value, I think it's just all going over people's heads, not caring about it, not believing it, and I think you're just wasting your breath over there at Xbox saying some of these things. It's very silly. It's very vague. If you want to talk to investors, and maybe just say you're talking to investors. It's people are kind of seeing through this talking to the gamer stuff out here in the world. All right, but Xbox is going to be at Gamescom. I think that's taking place sometime next month, or sometime in this month, I believe. I think it's towards the end of August. But Xbox is saying join Xbox at Gamescom 2026 as we celebrate 25 years of play. We're returning to Cologne, Germany. That's where Gamescom is taking place to connect with players from around the world and spotlight many of the incredible games coming soon to Xbox. The Xbox booth will be packed with new worlds to explore, developers to meet, and experiences that showcase what's next for Xbox. Our booth will feature 25 upcoming games and 140 gaming stations, giving fans the opportunity to go hands-on before they launch, being among the first to play Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4, Minecraft Dungeons 2, Gears of War E-Day, Metro 2039, Stranger Than Heaven, Alien Isolation 2, and more. So that's everything I got for you for the little bit of the Xbox portion of the news. And moving on to I guess this is a developer and a publisher. I know they're definitely a publisher, but Electronic Arts, EA Sports is in the game, or not sports, but EA, Electronic Arts. Their update here, I'm going to read you this quote from them. As of July 30th, 2026, all regulatory approvals required to complete the merger have been obtained. Electronic Arts currently expects the merger to close close on trading on August 4th, 2026, so the upcoming week. This deal is worth $55 billion, so a few B's up there. And this is, the main investors include Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia and Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners. So the big news here is that EA is going from a publicly traded company to a privately traded company. And I guess that's something they call a merger. I usually feel like that's, the combining of two different companies, but, maybe that's a typical word used for a company going public to private, and they still call it or count it as a merger, or maybe it has to go through some of the same regulatory hoops and hurdles that a actual merger does as well. Maybe there's some type of crossover there. It's just kind of my novice take on understanding that. But some news over there at Electronic Arts, and we will see what kind of results we get from them from going private in the future. All right, so that's kind of all the updates I have for you for like companies and developers and things like that. So let's get into a few little game updates here for the second half of this news section for the Dep Lewis Show. So a really fun video game that came out October of last year called Ball Pit is getting a final free update, and that's coming on August 6th. So that's in the upcoming week. It's called the Naturalist Update. You're going to get 2 new characters, the Ball Bearer and the Hoary Hoarder. No, excuse me there for calling that Hoarder Hoardy, but it's Hoary, Hoary. I guess, who knows? 11 new balls and 5 new passives. Ball Pit, if you don't know, is a brick-breaking, ball-fusing, base-building survival roguelite. You batter and you battle hordes of enemies with ricocheting balls and gather the riches of the pit to expand your homestead, generate resources, and recruit unique heroes. Developed by Kenny Sun and Friends, publisher Devolver Digital. This is available now for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, Nintendo Switch, PC, and mobile, so you can play this on pretty much anything. It's $14.99 USDs, a standard price. I think Ball Pit is one of those games to me that falls in the Dead Cells, Binding of Isaac, Spelunky, Hollow Knight, Stardew. I think it's just one of those classic video games that you can get under $20. Has a ton of content. It's like Vampire Survivors in a lot of ways. And ever since its release, they've been putting additional things into the game. It was already a fully fleshed out, fun game from the beginning with lots of different options on ways to complete the game, but they've only improved it over time. And that's something that I do enjoy about modern video games, that you can buy a game on day one. It can be a really good video game, and you can get some free updates along the way to, even enhance your experience. So I think that's one of the positive sides. It gives the developers some more time to work on some small things maybe they wanted to add in there. And I think that is a nice touch. And you see a lot of these smaller development teams doing this. So, shout out to Ball Pit over there for putting out their final free update in the upcoming week. All right, something else coming out in the upcoming week to a new platform. And that platform is Switch 2. And that game is Final Fantasy XIV Online. So this is releasing for Switch 2 on August 4th in the upcoming week. For newcomers, the free trial includes 4 award-winning titles, so I do think you can play a good portion of Final Fantasy XIV Online without having to pay the subscription service, because there's so much content in this game, and they're giving some of it to you for free. So you can join over 30 million adventurers worldwide and take part in an epic and ever-changing Final Fantasy. Experience all the hallmarks of the best-selling franchise, an unforgettable story, exhilarating battles, and a myriad of diverse and captivating environments to explore. This game's going to be 117.2 gigabytes, so a pretty big download over there on the Switch 2, but is also doing very good on the eShop ranking so far. This is a very, very popular and successful game, and this is a smart move, putting on the Switch 2, getting more players interested, and having the ability to play in handheld. I think is a really cool thing. I've had thoughts of trying to play some of this at some point, because you can download it for free, but it just seems like too big of a time commitment to me. I've never really been into like an MMO of any kind, but there's definitely a lot of cool things about Final Fantasy XIV Online, and especially if you're looking for something inexpensive to play that can take up a lot of hours, I think it's a really good option for that. And you'll be able to play Final Fantasy XIV Online on your Nintendo Switch 2 in the upcoming week. All right, so some additions to Nintendo Classic. So if you pay for Nintendo Switch Online, you can have access to Nintendo Classics. 2 previously unreleased Virtual Boy games are coming to Virtual Boy Nintendo Classics for Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack members on August 4th. So basically, in order to access the Virtual Boy games, you have to pay for the expansion pack for Nintendo Switch Online, but you'll be able to play Zero Racers and D-Hopper. So I think it's pretty cool that those are both unreleased games, and I think that's a very nice feature to be added. I don't really have any affinity or interest in the Virtual Boy, but I do think it's a cool option on there. Now, another game I do like a whole lot is Super Mario Sunshine. That's coming to Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo Classics, which is part of the expansion pack on Nintendo Switch 2 on August 13th. So previously, you've been able to buy Super Mario Sunshine in that Mario 3D collection where you can play Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy. That game was sold physically and digitally for a while, and now all you can really do is just pick up a used copy of it or play your digital file if you download it. So it's nice that they're going to have another option of playing Super Mario Sunshine, especially if you're already a subscriber to the Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. You'll be able to play Super Mario Sunshine on there on August 13th. All right, one of my kind of favorite video games and I guess favorite franchises is Marvel's Spider-Man 2. And this game came out originally October 2023 was the PS5 release, and it came to PC in January 2025, and that's Marvel's Spider-Man 2. So Insomniac has released a new update. I guess this is probably in conjunction with the release of the new Spider-Man movie, just kind of timing these things up for people who may be interested in this game after seeing the Spider-Man movie, I guess is my take on this. But the new update for Marvel Spider-Man 2 is there's 2 new suits, the Brand New Day and the Marvel Token suits, enhanced PSSR on PS5 Pro, and they've added a power save mode. If you don't know anything about the Marvel Spider-Man 2 game, it's be greater together. The incredible power of the symbiote forces Peter Parker and Miles Morales into a desperate fight as they balance their lives, friendships, and their duty to protect in an exciting chapter of the critically acclaimed Spider-Man franchise, available on PS5 and PC. So a very wonderful video game. If you haven't played any of the Marvel Spider-Man games, I think you can play any of them. The first one's still extremely fun. Miles Morales is a little bit shorter, but extremely fun. And then Marvel Spider-Man 2 was like the full kitchen sink of everything thrown into one game. You can play as Peter Parker. You can play as Miles. There's all sorts of cool enemies in there. There's a million cool suits and things to do, and all really, really wonderful video games to me. All 10 out of 10 video games, and something that if you have any interest in, you can play any of them and you'll have a fun time, in my opinion. All right, so what else do I want to tell you about? A couple more things. This game I've been talking about, this next game I've been talking about for a few weeks, but I just want to make sure that you are aware that Fields of Mistria is going 1.0 on August 5th. So that's 3 days from now if you're listening in real time. Early access started August 5th, 2024, so 2 years ago. This game came to see the light of day, and a lot of people have been playing it and enjoying it. Start your new life, build the farm of your dreams as you discover a world brimming with possibilities, magic, romance, and adventure all await you in this nostalgic farming life sim RPG. A developer and publisher NPC studio, and the reason I always like to mention this game especially is because the social media and marketing manager is Sarah Podzorsky. Please go follow her online. She's a great person to follow. She streams on Twitch. She does the Pew Pew Bang podcast, which is coming back for another season. They do seasonal uploads for that, and I think it's coming back in like a month or so. They've been recording those episodes, and she's also a contributor she's a cohort over there on MinMax. So please go check out Sarah Pods and follow her everywhere, and maybe go check out Fields of Mistria if that sounds fun to you. All right. Valve released the Steam Machine, maybe a month or so ago at this point, and they have given us some updates on the reservations, waitlist, and more. So these are some quotes from Valve about the Steam Machine. They say, "We began shipping Steam Machine at the end of June, and now that we're a few weeks in, we wanted to share more information both on Steam Machine itself and the status of the reservation queue and waitlist as it stands today." So reservations and waitlist updates. They say, "We're fulfilling orders on a daily basis, sending out emails to reservation holders with the option to purchase in the order in which they landed on the list post-randomization. We expect everyone in the reservation queue will have the option to purchase by the end of the year." They say, "What's next for the Steam Machine? If you have a reservation, you can expect an email offering you the chance to purchase by the end of the year. If you have a spot on one of the wait lists, there is a chance you could be moved into reservations, depending on which product you're on the list for. In those instances, we will email you about your new reservation status first, with a purchase email to follow once your spot in that queue comes up." So for Steam Machine, the base model of it's a 512 gigabyte option. It's $1,049 US. And with over 6 times the horsepower of Steam Deck, Steam Machine has the power to play your whole Steam library, including your favorite AAA titles. Just sign in with your Steam account and your entire library is there. So, the only really negative thing I've heard about the Steam Machine is the price point. I think everyone was hoping it would come in at a cheaper price point, but the functionality and the use case from it all seems really, really great. I think a lot of people who, especially our PC gamers, having the ability to have this box just in your living room and seamlessly play all your Steam games, I think is a really nice feature. I think this is something that could get more people into PC gaming. Well, I don't know about the price tag. I don't know if it's actually going to be doing that, but everything I've been hearing about this, minus the price, people are saying it's fun. People are saying it's great for like emulation and playing older retro games. They say it runs all this stuff on Steam great. They say it seamlessly works in your living room. It's small, it's discreet, it does what you want it to do. And I think the only complaint really is, if you just need it, maybe if you have a powerful PC, it's not going to be worth your money. Maybe if you have a console out in your living room, it's not going to be worth the upgrade or the change. But just one of those video game options out there in the world, even if it is expensive, it's an option out there, and it seems like it's a really high quality product. So, I really don't have. I would have maybe had some interest if it was more priced like a console. But even then, I don't really know if there's much of a use case for me to need one. There's plenty of ways to play video games these days, as we do talk about. You can play video games on pretty much anything. So, it really makes you, be more cautious with your spending your money, or think about it twice these days. And that's something that I think these companies need to realize as well. And maybe they are a little bit with these streaming things, but not everybody's going to just be happy to pay $1,000 for a console or $1,500 for the next console, or $2,000, and the price is going up, especially when old consoles are still fun to play. Games are still coming out to old consoles. Games are coming to mobile. They're starting out with streaming things, which can be free, and they're going to put ads in them. So, I think they're trying to solve all the problems at once, and they're not really solving too many of them. So I think a lot of places could focus on having some more focus. And I think that is some of the problems with some of these developers and companies that we're seeing today. So that's the update on the Steam Machine. Please go check those out if you're interested. And the last little bit of update I want to tell you is just one company that is really doing a great job right now is Capcom, and they've released some updated sales figures for a lifetime on some of their franchises, and just some of these things are pretty wild to see, so I just want to read through these numbers for you on these Capcom sales. So Resident Evil, the entire series, has now eclipsed 213 million units sold. Resident Evil Requiem is the latest title from February 2026, so that's the top dog over there at Capcom in terms of sales. Number 2 is Monster Hunter. This entire series has sold 131 million units. Monster Hunter Wilds was in February 2025. So they've really been doing a good job of, releasing a game a year at least for one of their major franchises. Street Fighter is the next one, which I didn't write the total on there for the amount, so my apologies to that. But the third highest selling Capcom series is Street Fighter. Street Fighter 6, that was the last release on the Street Fighter series, and that was June 2023. All right, and we're going to read down the rest of them. Mega Man, 45 million units. Devil May Cry, 41 million units. Dead Rising, 19 million units. Ace Attorney, 15 million units. Dragon's Dogma, 14 million. Marvel vs. Capcom, 13 million. Onimusha, 9.2 million, which I think does have a new game coming out in September. And then Okami, like a cult classic, beloved game right there, 4.8 million units. So Capcom is seemingly doing one of the best developers and publishers out here of video games going currently, and those sales numbers are a clear indication of that. So shout out to them at Capcom, and they're carrying a pretty good portion of the video game industry on their back right now, and doing it very well. All right, so that's everything I got for you for the midsection of the show this week. I'm going to recap the things we talked about. We talked about Double Fine. We talked about Bethesda. We talked about PlayStation physical discs. We talked about Xbox physical discs. We talked about Xbox streaming, Xbox growth, Xbox at Gamescom 2026. We talked about EA, Electronic Arts. We talked about Ball Pit. We talked about Final Fantasy XIV Online. We talked about some additions to Nintendo classics like the Virtual Boy games Zero Racers and D-Hopper. We talked about Super Mario Sunshine. We talked about Marvel Spider-Man 2, Fields of Mistria. We talked about Steam Machine, and then we talked about Capcom's updated sales figures. So that's everything I got for you for the midsection, everything I wanted to tell you about. But there's still one final section of the show left to go. It's a break from all the video game talk. It's the miscellaneous talk section. And as always, I want to get into the worldwide world of sports and tell you what's going on with all my favorite teams after this music. Welcome back to the final section of Dep Lewis Show, episode 191. This is the miscellaneous talk section where I can talk about anything I want to outside the video game world. So as always, I want to get into the worldwide world of sports and tell you what's going on with all my favorite teams. And we're going to start off with the NFL, which training camp has begun. And my favorite team is the Carolina Panthers. And they've had a couple injuries over training camp so far, and the most recent one was their third-round rookie wide receiver, Chris Brazzell the second. He will miss the entire 2026 season with a knee injury. It's very sad there. I believe he was a second-round draft pick from last year and was going to, come in and have a pretty decent role with the Panthers for, their young wide receiver room. So a definite bad setback there. Kind of reminds me of the Jonathan Brooks running back we drafted a couple years ago. Having an injury, being out for a couple seasons there for Jonathan Brooks, but just a rough start to a brand new career for Chris Brazzell, and thoughts and prayers over to them while he's rehabbing and healing up and missing his first season in the NFL. So that's one of the updates from training camp. Also, the Panthers had Fan Fest last week, which I actually was in attendance for. It was very fun. It was, they had some entertainment, and then they had a scrimmage, which the rules of the scrimmage were a little bit unclear, but, you got to see the offense going against the defense. I don't know if I missed, real early on some of the top defenders playing, like Derek Brown was kind of sitting out. I never saw Jalen Phillips getting any reps. I never saw Devin Lloyd getting any reps, but I did see J.C. Horn out there balling. Mike Jackson, Mo Rig was out there, all looking pretty good. And then on the offense side of things, really standing out was Jalen Coker out there. He just is lightning fast and really, really shifty and was making some catches. One of the Panthers tight ends was doing good, which I think would be really helpful. But it was just a really, really fun time to see the guys out there, going at it, all in the uniforms. The stadium was fairly packed. I've been to Fan Fest the last couple years since I've lived in North Carolina, and this was definitely the most official, definitely the most packed, and definitely the most fun. So watched the scrimmage, and then after that they had a fireworks light show, which was really, really cool. So I think it just got everybody in the mood for football. It was a nice celebration of the Panthers, and hopefully it's not going to be the highlight of the year for the Panthers. It was fun seeing Teteroa and McMillan out there running around. I'm trying to think what other players I really enjoyed seeing. Seeing Chuba out there, he was doing his thing. I don't know if I remembered really seeing Jonathan Brooks. Maybe they were kind of taking it easy with him. I'm not sure. But the main one standing out to me was just basically how big Derek Brown is. That was one of my takeaways from seeing the playoff game last year, because we had pretty good seats. It was like, he is gigantic and strong and just, a force to be reckoned with. And even just seeing him standing on the sideline is intimidating. But I think Jalen Coker was one of the standouts for me. And, possibly J.C. Horn. He's out there, doing his thing, looking lightning quick. They're going to have him playing more in the nickel. This year, attacking the slot receiver. So they're kind of talking about how he's going to be in more of a Jalen Ramsey role. So I think that is really, really cool. I think they're just kind of expanding his reach and his capabilities of what they want him to do on the field. And, JC's got to be up there for one of my favorite Panthers players. I don't know if I have a favorite Panther player at this point in time, but, there's a lot of cool players to choose from, and I'm excited about it. So I had a lot of fun at Panthers Fan Fest, and, now I'm officially ready for the season. So the first preseason game of the preseason is the Hall of Fame game, and that's the one the Panthers are taking place in. So that's actually this upcoming Thursday, if you can believe it, August 6th. The Panthers are going to be playing the Cardinals at the Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, Ohio. Then the actual NFL season is just a little over a month away. I guess for a Thursday night start, it's the Patriots and the Seahawks on September 9th is the first game of the NFL season. So been talking to my fantasy football squad. We're trying to get our plans together and, get ready for our draft in the upcoming weeks, which is one of my favorite things to do. And then for the NBA, moving on to the NBA, it's just the offseason over there. Nothing really to report. LeBron went to Philly a couple weeks ago, and, my teams haven't really been making any moves in the last couple weeks. I'm a halfway fan of the Charlotte Hornets since I'm a North Carolina resident in the last couple years. Everyone's just trying to scramble back from the fallout of them trading LaMelo. So a little bit of a wind out of our sails for sure. And then the Atlanta Hawks are my favorite team, which I've been upset with since last year's trade deadline, where they traded away franchise superstar Trae Young. So really, really kind of bad times for me on the NBA side of things. Really, really disheartening, really, really disappointing, really, really boneheaded moves that aren't, fan forward would be the move. These are like future plans that it's like you're just planning to be bad for the entire future is what both of these teams see like doing. Or they don't want to get over a certain threshold of being good, or I don't know. It's just a really, really tough time to be a fan of both of those teams in the NBA. I guess it's pretty sad at this point. But then moving on to Major League Baseball, my favorite sport in the universe, and my favorite team in the universe, the Atlanta Braves. And my favorite player in the universe is back on the baseball field. Ronald Acuna Jr. is back playing. He actually hit a home run. I think it took him a couple games, but, seeing Ronnie out there playing baseball is my favorite thing to witness in all of baseball. I hope he can remain healthy for the second half of the season. I think that's a really tall order. I think they should be DHing him a lot. I think they should be giving him some days off. I think they really should be treating him like a Ferrari that you only want to take out every so often, and that every so often needs to be right before the playoffs. So I just hope they're extremely cautious. He was hitting in the 2-hole last night, and there's nothing better to me than watching as far as baseball wise, watching Ronald Acuna Jr. out there on the baseball field. So welcome back, Ronnie. That makes me super, super happy. The trade deadline is Monday, August 3rd, so that's actually tomorrow. So we're already seeing some transactions trade place. The Braves have acquired outfielder Lane Thomas, which I guess was the star of this trade here, and left-handed pitcher Bailey Falter from the Kansas City Royals. So Lane Thomas, I'm not all the way familiar with him. He's I guess like a savvy veteran. He's a 30-year-old outfielder. I think he's batting around 230. I didn't really see his home run or RBI numbers, but we could definitely use another consistent player out there in the outfield. And, I guess maybe it's not like shooting the moon with potential or whatever with Lane Thomas, but, being someone who could be steady out there as an option with, some of these injuries and some of these things the Braves have been dealing with, I think is an okay pickup. And I don't think they had to spend too much to get Lane Thomas and Bailey Falter over there on the squad. So, welcome to the Braves to both of those gentlemen over there, and I hope they can come ball out. And then talking about the Braves since last Sunday, they were finishing a series up against the Orioles, and the Braves actually lost 2-3 last Sunday in 11 innings. So the Braves have had a few, well, I guess in the past week they had a few extra inning games, but not so much this week. But to start the week off, the Braves were playing up north against the Mets. Monday at the Mets, the Braves lost 3-14, which is very, very disappointing. Tuesday at the Mets, the game was rained out completely, so there was a doubleheader on Wednesday. The Braves lost the first of the doubleheaders 2-3, and the Braves won the second one 1-0. And then Thursday, the Braves moved on to another divisional opponent, playing them in Atlanta, and that was the Washington Nationals. The Braves won 5-4 on Thursday. The Braves won 6-2 on Friday, and the Braves won 8-3 on Saturday. So TCB taking care of business completely against the Washington Nationals, which was very nice. And the Braves are 66-45 after last night's game. They are first in the NL East, and they are now 8 games ahead on Philly. I think the Marlins are 9.5 games back, and the Nationals are like 11.5 games back. So it was getting pretty close there at the All-Star break. I think Philly was like 2 games back or something on them, but the Braves have, come out strong, and these other teams have come out poor. So it's given the Braves a nice little bit of a lead there on the division, which is very, very nice. And I hope that can continue until the end of the season. My hope is the Braves are going to be in a position, firmly in the number 1 spot. They'll be able to rest some guys coming to the end and really, really get prepared for the playoffs, and Ronald Acuna Jr. in particular. So the Braves are playing today to close off this series with the Nats at 1:35, so just a couple hours away from real time, so I'll be excited to watch that. And then next week, the Braves are actually off tomorrow. They're going to be playing 3 games versus the Marlins in Atlanta, and then they're going back up north again to the other team from New York, the Yankees, for 3 to close out the weekend. So Marlins have been actually pretty fun and a little bit better than expected this year. The Yankees are always pretty good, so it should be a really fun week of baseball, minus tomorrow when the Braves are off. And then as far as MLB news goes, one of the most disappointing things to happen was Skubal was traded from the Tigers last night to the Dodgers. So if you can't believe it, the Dodgers are in the market for any high-level, top-tier free agent, and it's very, very annoying. So Skubal definitely had some rumors about the Braves trying to pick him up. Maybe the front office was kicking the, I don't know if you say kicking the can around, but, trying to see what they could do. But ultimately, just like with any trade, just like with any superstar, all-star player, they end up going to the Dodgers. And it's just a really poor trend to see for Major League Baseball. And it was just something predictable. It's like, of course, Skubal is going to go to the Dodgers. It's just an abundance of riches over there. And it's really, I don't know what these other teams are going to do. The Braves are someone who don't like to spend money. They generally draft pretty well, make some small moves on the periphery, but they're not making really big swings. And I don't know. I just don't know. I know the Braves have a lot of good players, but, going up against that type of firepower and arsenal and roster is just going to be, the gap is going to be getting ever greater. And it's just something that's kind of sad to see. So, Skubal, I do not welcome you to the Dodgers, and you better be nice to Freddie. That's all I really want to say over there. Really, the only time that I've ever had some affinity for the Dodgers is the great Freddie Freeman going over there to get when he signed with them. So sad stuff, but maybe see some more moves before tomorrow, and hopefully something good for the Braves that I can report to you next week. So that's everything I got for you for the miscellaneous talk section, all the sports talks, all the sports talk. We talked about all my favorite teams, the Carolina Panthers. We talked about the Charlotte Hornets, the Atlanta Hawks, and the Atlanta Braves. And then we talked about some MLB news in general. So that's going to wrap up this final section, and that's going to wrap up the entire show. So I'd like to reiterate some promotional talk from the beginning. Please follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show available anywhere you can find a podcast. So find the best place to subscribe and listen weekly. Places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Amazon Music, and more. YouTube is also a great place to watch replacing games live or check out the videos later. If you would like to support the show even further than just listening, patreon.com/Dep Lewis Show is available if you'd like to subscribe monthly. I'm currently at 1 out of 100 spots taken for the ground floor tier, which is $1 a month, and will never change in price and will always include the same content as any of the higher tiers. Also, Venmo at Dep Lewis Show is available any day, anytime for any amount if you would like to support the show. And I just thank you so much for listening, as always. It's always amazing to me that people listen to the show. It's one of the most fun things I do each week, and just thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful week out there in the world. If things are going your way, I hope that continues. If things are not going your way, I hope that changes. In the upcoming week, I'm definitely going to be playing some more games, most likely Forza Horizon 6, my favorite game of the year. Probably some more Pokemon. Maybe start focusing some more on Persona 3 Reload. I got to think about if I'm going to change the theme of the year. Maybe I'm leaning towards not changing it, but maybe just changing my front log list. Maybe my front log will have nothing on it. We'll see. But I'm going to think about that some more before next week. And, that's really about it. So, thank you again for listening. I will talk to you next time, and thank you for listening to another episode of Dep Lewis Show.